Some people experience love differently than most. For them, building relationships that lack depth feels impossible. Carl Jung observed that these souls cannot be satisfied with shallow attachments. They may appear unlucky in love, because while others find it easily, they often remain without it. But in truth, this absence is not a curse. It is part of their unique path. Jung explained that the universe does not deny love to such people. Instead, it delays it, preparing them for a rare connection that is unlike ordinary relationships. These souls must endure waiting because they are not meant for bonds based on convenience or surface attraction. They are being shaped for something greater, something that aligns fully with their inner being. This preparation often begins with solitude, not chosen silence, but the kind that feels forced when nothing around them fits. They may be surrounded by people, yet unable to connect. Where others are content with partial understanding, these individuals cannot pretend. For them, pretending would feel like betrayal of themselves. That inability to settle makes them different, and often lonely. The first lesson lies in learning to carry that loneliness without surrendering. It is a test that reveals whether they will remain true to their essence or lower their standards simply to belong. Jung believed that such solitude is not punishment but transformation. It teaches strength, clarity, and self-awareness. During this stage, a person may question themselves. They may believe something is wrong within, since others seem to pair off so easily. But Jung's insight was that this difference is not failure, it is refinement. Their inability to accept the false protects them from wasting their lives in connections that would never satisfy their soul. The rehook is this: will they endure solitude long enough to meet what is meant for them? Or will they surrender and choose what does not match their truth? That decision shapes their entire journey. If this message connects with you, take a brief moment now. Subscribe to SYC Soul so you will not miss the deeper parts of Jung's wisdom still to come. Jung explained that after the period of solitude, another trial begins. It is the stage where illusions fall away. Many people spend years chasing images of love built from fantasies, expectations, or cultural ideals. But for those rare souls, these illusions cannot last. They may try to hold on to them, but again and again life breaks those images apart. This constant breaking is not cruelty. It is the way truth is revealed. Each broken illusion feels like a loss. A relationship once believed to be the one turns out to be false. A person thought to understand deeply reveals their limits. Each disappointment cuts, but Jung saw it as a necessary cutting away of what does not belong. These painful endings clear space, teaching the soul not to cling to dreams that cannot survive reality. The process is demanding. It often feels unfair, because others seem content with illusions, living with them comfortably for years. Yet these individuals cannot tolerate such illusions without suffering. Their inner nature demands authenticity, and so again and again they are pulled away from what is false. Though it feels like rejection, it is actually protection. This stage also forces an individual to examine their own illusions. Many times the fantasies are not only about others but also about themselves, how they believe they should be loved, how they imagine relationships must look. Jung explained that these inner illusions must also be dismantled. Only by seeing clearly without distortion can one recognize the true partner when they arrive. In this way, the breaking of illusions is a refining fire. It does not destroy the person, it clears their vision. With every illusion removed, their perception becomes sharper, their sense of self more defined. They begin to understand not only what they seek, but why they seek it. Can one endure the collapse of illusions without giving up? Can one accept that every broken image is guiding them closer to what is real? Those who can endure find themselves transformed, ready to see love without masks. This part of the journey, Jung noted, is never easy. But it is the reason why, when authentic love finally appears, these souls recognize it instantly. They know it because everything false has already been burned away. After solitude and the collapse of illusions, Jung described another stage, the encounter with personal wounds. Every soul carries marks from the past, rejections, betrayals, and moments of neglect. For many, these remain hidden beneath daily life. But for those rare individuals destined for deeper love, these wounds surface with force. They cannot be ignored because unresolved pain shapes the way one connects. At this stage, experiences of love often trigger old scars. A word, an absence, a moment of silence. Suddenly, it awakens memories of being unloved or unwanted. Instead of hiding these feelings, life compels them to face them. Jung believed this confrontation was essential. Unless the wounds are acknowledged and healed, true intimacy cannot exist. It is a difficult passage. One may ask, why must I suffer again for what has already passed? Yet these resurfacing pains are not punishments. They are signals. They show where healing is incomplete. They reveal the places within that still ache, the places that long for understanding. Only by recognizing them can they be transformed. This stage demands courage. Many wish to escape by distracting themselves, rushing into relationships, or covering pain with busyness. But avoidance only deepens the wounds. Jung taught that the path forward requires openness, allowing the pain to be seen, to be named, and to be integrated. It is through this difficult honesty that the soul becomes strong enough to receive love without fear. Healing is not instant. It comes slowly, through reflection, self-awareness, and sometimes through the gentle presence of others who witness without judgment. Each step into healing prepares the person further, shaping them into someone capable of both giving and receiving love in its truest form. Will one resist and keep running from the past, or will one finally turn and face it? Only those who choose the second path grow free enough to embrace the kind of love their soul has always sought. Jung explained that the recognition of wounds is not weakness. It is maturity. It is the bridge from carrying pain to transforming it, from being held back by the past to stepping forward unburdened. Once wounds are faced, Jung described the next stage: transformation through awareness. At this point, the soul has endured solitude, illusions have been removed, and hidden pain has surfaced. Now begins the process of change. The individual no longer seeks relationships only to escape loneliness or to hide from themselves. Instead, they begin to understand that love must reflect truth, not serve as a mask. Jung explained that this stage shifts the focus inward. The question becomes less about who will love me, and more about how can I live as my most authentic self. When one begins to live in alignment with their essence, they naturally attract connections of greater depth. Authenticity calls to authenticity. But this shift requires strength because it means letting go of roles once played to gain approval or affection. This transformation may cause discomfort. Old habits resist change. There is a temptation to fall back into familiar patterns, pretending, compromising, or chasing acceptance. Yet these patterns no longer satisfy. Jung taught that once a soul has seen through them, returning is impossible. Growth may be slow, but it is certain. Each step taken in authenticity moves the person closer to love that truly resonates. This is also the stage where patience is tested. The soul may feel ready for love, yet the arrival of the right connection does not always match the timing one desires. Jung saw this waiting as further preparation. The individual must learn to live fully, even without the presence of another, proving to themselves that their wholeness is not dependent on someone else's arrival. Will the person continue the path of authenticity, even when it feels lonely? Or will they turn back to lesser patterns just to ease the weight? This choice defines whether they are prepared to receive the bond they are destined for. Now, let me pause and connect with you directly. If what you're hearing feels true in your own life, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching this from. If my effort in bringing Jung's wisdom to you resonates, I would be grateful for your admiration. Your response encourages me to continue unfolding these deep insights. According to Jung, after transformation through authenticity, a new kind of strength begins to appear. The soul that once felt weak from loneliness now discovers resilience. Instead of asking why love has not yet arrived, the person begins to realize they are being shaped into someone capable of holding love at its deepest level. This realization changes the tone of their journey. They start to see patterns that once controlled them. Old fears no longer dictate choices as strongly as before. Illusions that used to blind them are recognized quickly and released. Painful wounds that once ruled their emotions lose their power as healing takes place. Jung described this as the strengthening of the inner core. It is the stage where a person's foundation becomes firm, where they know themselves enough to withstand the storms of life without losing their center. At this stage, life often tests them again. Encounters may come that appear tempting, relationships that look easier, more convenient or comforting in the short term. Yet Jung noted that these are further trials. The question remains, will they settle for what looks good on the surface, or will they wait for the truth that their soul requires? The re-hook here is sharp. Can one resist settling when the easier choice stands right in front of them? Many fall into this trap, but for the rare soul, resistance is essential. Each time they refuse what is false, they draw closer to what is real. This stage also brings a quiet confidence. The person no longer feels desperate for love. Instead, they begin to trust that the right bond will arrive in its time. That trust allows them to live fully in the present, pursuing purpose, expressing creativity, and cultivating self-respect. Jung saw this as preparation, because love that is true does not arrive to fill emptiness. It arrives to join two whole beings. When that realization takes root, patience grows. What once felt like endless waiting becomes part of the journey, meaningful in itself. The soul begins to rest even without seeing what lies ahead. If you're finding this message valuable, now is the moment to stay connected. Subscribe to SYC Soul, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the upcoming parts. These insights from Jung continue to reveal more with every step, and sharing them with you is an honor. Jung described that once a person has gained strength in their foundation, another stage opens, the recognition of purpose. At this point, the soul realizes that love is not the only destination. Instead, life itself becomes the arena of growth. These individuals begin to see that their journey is not only about finding a partner, but also about fulfilling the deeper calling of their existence. In this stage, work, creativity, and personal expression take on greater meaning. The person starts to live in alignment with what feels authentic, not only in relationships but in every aspect of life. Jung taught that this alignment creates harmony, and it naturally prepares the soul to meet someone who reflects the same values. However, this stage is also a test. The person may believe that once they live authentically, love should appear immediately. When it does not, frustration can return. Jung emphasized that timing is beyond personal control. The task is not to force outcomes, but to remain faithful to one's path. The challenge is to continue building a life of truth even in the absence of a partner. In these moments, patience is again refined. The individual must learn to trust that what is meant for them cannot be lost, and what is not meant cannot be forced. This acceptance is not resignation but wisdom. It allows them to walk calmly, even when uncertainty remains. Can one continue walking their true path even when love has not yet appeared? Or will they abandon their authenticity in the hope of controlling the outcome? The answer determines whether they are truly prepared for the love they seek. Jung explained that when a soul begins to live in this way, focused on truth, purpose, and self-respect, something within them changes. They no longer appear as seekers chasing fulfillment. Instead, they become whole, radiating a presence that naturally draws what is aligned to them. It is in this state that love is most likely to arrive, because it meets not a fragment, but a complete person. This recognition of purpose marks a turning point. It shows that the journey is not wasted waiting, but meaningful growth. Every trial that came before, solitude, illusions, wounds, and transformation, has led to this clarity. Jung explained that after a person discovers their purpose and begins to live from that center, another profound stage comes forward: readiness for true connection. At this point, the individual is no longer chasing love as a way to feel complete. Instead, they have become complete within themselves. This completeness changes the quality of the bond they are able to form. Ordinary relationships are often built on need. People seek comfort, validation, or escape through each other. But Jung noted that for the refined soul, such motives no longer hold. They are not looking for someone to rescue them from loneliness or to confirm their worth. Their worth has already been discovered within. What they now desire is a union of equals, a partnership that deepens both lives rather than filling a void. In this stage, love is recognized not by intensity of desire alone, but by resonance of spirit. These individuals are able to see more clearly who truly matches their inner essence and who does not. The illusions and wounds that once clouded vision have been stripped away. Now perception is sharper and choices reflect that clarity. Yet even here, Jung reminded, another test appears. Temptations may still arrive, connections that resemble truth but fall short in depth. The challenge remains the same: to wait, to discern, and to remain loyal to the authentic. Settling at this stage would undo much of the growth already achieved. Will one trust the process long enough to hold out for a bond that mirrors their wholeness? Or will they slip back into patterns of compromise? The difference determines whether the final reward is reached. Jung emphasized that when the right connection does appear, it carries a unique quality. It feels not like the sudden rush of fantasy, but like recognition, two souls seeing each other without disguise. Such a meeting can only happen when both have walked their own path of growth. It is not chance but readiness that makes it possible. This stage reveals why the earlier trials were necessary. Without solitude, illusions, and healing, one would not have the strength to recognize the truth. With them, recognition becomes inevitable. The next stage brings a deeper transformation. Jung described it as a reordering of the inner world, almost like the psyche tuning itself to a higher frequency. This adjustment is not about outward changes alone. It is an internal alignment that shifts how reality is experienced. At this point, the universe demands release of more than just harmful attachments. Even bonds or habits that once felt positive may now prove limiting. A friendship, a routine, or even an identity that once supported growth may begin to hold the soul back. What once nourished now restricts. To continue evolving, these patterns must fall away. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming one's true self rather than the product of outside conditioning. It is rarely comfortable. Many realize they must let go of narratives that once defined them. The idea of being special because of suffering, or the pride of being different because love has been difficult. These stories, while once protective, now stand in the way of deeper connection. This test is sharper than the earlier ones, because it asks for total honesty. One must confront the ways in which they have clung to pain, used sensitivity as excuse, or hidden behind authenticity to avoid vulnerability. The universe's demand is not to change into someone else, but to shed everything false, even the parts that feel justified. During this passage, life itself shifts. Conversations once meaningful may feel empty. Places once comfortable may now feel suffocating. Activities once exciting may suddenly feel shallow. This is not collapse, it is recalibration. The soul is aligning with what truly matters, discarding the weight of what no longer serves. The key question is whether one can accept these losses without resistance, to let relationships or roles dissolve without clinging, to remain true even if it means standing alone. The universe observes this carefully, for the choice reveals whether authenticity has become stronger than the need for approval, comfort, or security. Out of this test comes a purified energy. The individual begins to radiate differently. New opportunities, new people, and new paths naturally appear, because the soul is now resonating at a level where what is authentic can finally approach. The next challenge emerges in the form of surrender. The paradox is striking. What has been long pursued must now be released. The universe seems to require that the search for love be abandoned before true love can arrive. Attachment itself becomes the final barrier. This stage is not about giving up in defeat, but about entering a state of wholeness. Jung observed that individuation leads to a place where a person no longer depends on another to complete them, but instead desires to share completeness with another. The shift moves from need to offering, from grasping to allowing. When this state is reached, subtle changes take place. Rooms are no longer scanned for possible partners. Conversations are no longer weighed for hidden romantic potential. Self-worth is no longer measured against relationship status. Life begins to be lived from the understanding that one is already whole, already loved, already enough. This is not self-deception. It is the natural outcome of having integrated all the previous lessons. The universe waits for this transformation because it marks readiness. Love can only be received when it is no longer required as proof of worth. Partnership can only thrive when it is chosen, not clung to. In this stage, connection is free from desperation. Giving becomes possible without exhaustion, receiving without suspicion. It is at this point that a new magnetism appears. The soul begins to emit a frequency that draws not just anyone, but specifically someone equally whole. This person is not meant to repair wounds, but to recognize healing, not to provide missing pieces, but to honor completeness. Recognition between such souls is unmistakable. There is no need to argue oneself into compatibility, no need to ignore warning signs, no need to compromise truth. The bond feels calm, steady, undeniable. It carries peace rather than chaos, expansion rather than limitation. Two people see each other not as strangers growing acquainted, but as souls long familiar, now meeting in physical form. This recognition does not carry the intensity of projection, but the quiet certainty of truth. No grasping, no fear of loss, no demand to control. Both remain entirely themselves and yet fully joined. When true partnership finally arrives, it feels unlike what came before. It does not erupt with the dramatic intensity of projection, but instead settles with recognition. There are no fireworks to prove destiny. There is quiet knowing. No obsession. There is peace. No desperate effort. There is natural alignment. In this space, authenticity is safe. Each person is able to remain entirely themselves without shrinking, without masking, without fear that honesty will drive the other away. Jung would describe this union as the meeting of two individuated souls. Each has done enough inner work to engage without demanding the other fill old voids, without projecting unhealed material, without losing individuality to togetherness. This kind of bond nurtures growth instead of halting it. It allows solitude inside connection, space for disagreement without threatening the core, and room for evolution without fear of abandonment. It is not a prison built on compromise, but a sanctuary where both can keep becoming. The universe, once appearing to withhold, now shows its intention. Every earlier test, solitude, projection, self-sabotage, recalibration, surrender, was preparation. Every delay was timing, every disappointment was protection. The path was never punishment but refinement, shaping a soul strong enough to recognize and receive what it truly sought. Love in this form does not reduce uniqueness, but enhances it. It does not ask for smaller truths, but celebrates full expression. It does not tolerate depth, it matches it. It does not merely endure complexity, it cherishes it. In such partnership, love amplifies rather than diminishes, liberates rather than confines. This relationship follows different principles than conventional bonds. It is not driven by habit, fear, or expectation. It is chosen daily by two whole individuals, each sharing their completeness without losing it. Love here serves the highest evolution, not the lowest insecurity. If you find yourself reflected in this journey, if you have faced solitude, endured illusions, overcome self-sabotage, allowed recalibration, and finally surrendered, then you understand. The preparation has always been for extraordinary connection. Not ordinary love, but conscious union. Not someone to complete you, but someone to celebrate your completion. Take a moment to consider your own path. Every challenge, every pause, every wound has shaped you for recognition when it arrives. The universe has not forgotten you. It has been preparing you. And if these words resonate, I invite you to subscribe to SYC Soul, share this with someone who may need it, and stay connected for more explorations of love, depth, and becoming your truest self.